Beneath the quiet fields of Xi'an, China, lies a secret. It's a secret that's been buried for over 2 millennia. A secret protected by a silent, unmoving army of terracotta soldiers. But this is not just a tomb. It's actually an underground kingdom, a final resting place designed to mirror the universe itself. At its heart lies the first emperor of China, Qin Shi Huang, a man who conquered states, unified a nation, and built the Great Wall. Yet, his greatest and most mysterious creation remains untouched, a silent testament to his obsession with immortality. So what did he take with him into the afterlife? What grand design did he command his artisans to build in the dark earth? A world he intended to rule forever? Honestly, we've only scratched the surface of this vast necropolis. The Terracotta Army, discovered by farmers back in 1974, was just the beginning. Thousands of life-sized warriors stand guard, archers, charioteers, each with a unique face, a silent legion frozen in time. They're the guardians of a much larger complex, a sprawling underground palace covering nearly 22 square miles. This subterranean empire was built by a reported 700,000 laborers over 4 decades. It's a world of its own, complete with stables, offices, armories. Yet the central tomb, the emperor's final chamber, remains sealed. Local farmers, villagers told stories of the soil itself being unusual, even cursed. They spoke of land where crops would not grow as they should, where the ground seemed to hold a sterile quality. These weren't just superstitions passed down through the ages. They were observations rooted in daily life. Something was different about this specific patch of earth. It was as if the ground itself was guarding the emperor's sleep, poisoning any life that dared to disturb the soil above his final resting place. These tales were the first clues, the first hints that the ancient legends might actually hold a measure of truth. Further discoveries around the mausoleum complex have only deepened the enigma. Terracotta acrobats, strongmen, musicians, intricate bronze cranes, bronze swans positioned near an underground watercourse. But perhaps the most unsettling discovery was the mass graves of the artisans and laborers who built the tomb. Historical accounts suggest many were sealed inside to protect the tomb's secrets. Finding their remains lends a grim reality to the written records, reminding us of the human cost of this monumental undertaking and the emperor's ruthless determination. The mystery extends to the weapons carried by the terracotta warriors. Bronze swords, spears, crossbow bolts remain remarkably well preserved. Some were found to be coated with a thin layer of chromium oxide, a sophisticated anti-rust technique that wasn't invented in the West until the 20th century. How did Qin dynasty artisans master this advanced metallurgical process? This single, unexpected scientific fact forces us to reconsider the technological capabilities of this ancient civilization. It suggests a level of knowledge far beyond what was previously believed, making the grand claims of Mercury rivers and celestial ceilings seem much more plausible. Among these findings, the shadow of Mercury always lingers. The soil itself has become a key witness in this ancient case. Early tests of the soil on and around the burial mound showed unusually high concentrations of mercury. Our primary source for the legend of the Mercury rivers comes from a man who wrote about a century after the emperor's death. His name was Sima Qian, the grand historian of the Han dynasty. In his seminal work, The Records of the Grand Historian, he provides the most detailed and dramatic description of the tomb's interior. He wrote that the emperor was buried with palaces, scenic towers, and 100 officials. He described the ceiling as a depiction of the heavenly constellations and the floor as a map of the earth. It is here that he makes the most astonishing claim. Mercury was used to simulate the 100 rivers. Mercury was used to simulate the Yangtze. Mercury was used to simulate the Yellow River. Mercury was used to simulate the Great Sea and set to flow mechanically. This account has been the bedrock of the entire mystery. For centuries, scholars debated its validity. Was Sima Qian recording a known fact, passing on reliable information from the generation before him? Or was he engaging in a bit of historical embellishment, using hyperbole to emphasize the grandeur and power of the first emperor? His work is generally considered a credible and meticulous source of history, but this description really bordered on the fantastical. In ancient Chinese alchemy and cosmology, Mercury, or quicksilver, held a special and mystical significance. It was one of the 5 elements in Taoist thought, representing water, the direction north. Its unique nature, a metal that is liquid at room temperature, gave it an otherworldly quality. It was seen as a substance that bridged the gap between the physical and spiritual realms, between yin and yang. For an emperor obsessed with finding the elixir of life, Mercury was a substance of immense magical potency, a key ingredient in many immortality potions. Therefore, the inclusion of mercury rivers in his tomb may have been a profound symbolic act. It wasn't just about recreating his empire, it was about creating a cosmologically perfect space for his soul to inhabit for eternity. The flowing mercury would represent the lifeblood of the earth, the eternal flow of energy, Qi. By surrounding himself with this powerful substance, Qin Shi Huang may have believed he was ensuring his own resurrection or eternal spiritual life. The tomb was not just a house for his body, but an engine for his soul's journey into the next world, powered by the mystical properties of quicksilver. The rivers were a map to immortality itself. This interpretation doesn't necessarily contradict the idea of actual mercury being present. The two theories can coexist. The emperor could have been motivated by both the literal desire to recreate his empire and the symbolic desire to harness the spiritual power of Mercury. The physical rivers would serve as a constant, powerful ritual, an alchemical process working for eternity to preserve his spirit. It turns the tomb into a living, moving machine, a clockwork cosmos built to run forever in the darkness. Sima Qian's account is not just a description, it is a blueprint for a wonder of the ancient world. His tomb would naturally be a fusion of these two worlds, engineering and magic. Then, in the 1980s, science entered the conversation. A new group of explorers arrived at the tomb, not with shovels, but with sophisticated sensors. Chinese scientists began a systematic survey of the soil on and around the burial mound. They took thousands of samples, creating a detailed chemical map of the area. If vast quantities of liquid mercury were sealed in the tomb, some of it would have likely vaporized over the centuries. It would seep through the soil, leaving a distinct chemical fingerprint on the surface. They were looking for the ghost of the mercury rivers. The results were astonishing. The survey revealed an area of highly elevated mercury concentrations directly on the burial mound. The distribution of these mercury hotspots was not random. They formed a distinct pattern, a rectangular shape that closely matched the presumed dimensions of the underground palace described by Sima Qian. The mercury levels within this rectangle were significantly higher than the surrounding soil, in some places reaching more than 100 times the normal background level. It was the first piece of hard scientific data that suggested the ancient historian was telling the truth. More advanced techniques have since been employed to peer beneath the earth without disturbing it. Electrical resistivity. Tomography, a method that measures how electrical currents move through the soil, has been used to map out subterranean structures. These surveys have revealed what appears to be a massive underground wall, an extensive drainage system, the shape of the palace itself. While these methods cannot detect mercury directly, they confirm the existence of the very chamber that is said to contain it. The confirmation of high mercury levels brings with it a chilling realization. The tomb is not just a historical treasure, it is an environmental hazard. Mercury vapor is highly toxic. Inhaling it can cause severe damage to the nervous system, lungs, kidneys. An ancient booby trap, whether intentional or not, is still active after 2,200 years. Any attempt to enter the central tomb would expose archaeologists and workers to potentially lethal concentrations of mercury vapor that have been building up in the sealed chamber for millennia. The emperor's desire to protect his final rest may have created the most effective tomb defense system in history. This is a primary reason why the Chinese government has forbidden the excavation of the central tomb. The risk to human life is simply too great with our current technology. Beyond the mercury, there are other concerns. The tomb is an anaerobic or oxygen-free environment. Suddenly, introducing oxygen could cause rapid and irreversible decay of priceless artifacts. Silk banners, wooden structures, painted surfaces that have been perfectly preserved for 2 millennia could disintegrate into dust within minutes of being exposed to the air. We saw this with some of the terracotta warriors, whose vibrant paint flaked off almost immediately after being unearthed. The act of discovery could be the act of destruction. Furthermore, there is the immense structural challenge. The burial mound is a massive earthen structure, and the tomb is believed to be located deep within it, perhaps up to 30 meters below the current ground level. Excavating it without causing a catastrophic collapse of the overlying earth would be an engineering project on a scale arguably as grand as the tomb's original construction. For now, the policy is one of preservation over exploration. Wait for technology to advance to a point where we can safely neutralize the mercury threat. Wait for new methods of preservation that can protect delicate artifacts the moment they are exposed. Wait for non-invasive imaging techniques that might one day allow us to see inside the tomb in perfect detail without ever breaking the seal. The tomb has waited for over 2,000 years. It can wait a few more decades or even centuries. The emperor's poisonous promise of Mercury rivers has become his ultimate guardian, protecting his secrets from our own impatient curiosity. So we are left standing at the edge of a great mystery. We stand on the soil of Xi'an above a silent, sleeping kingdom. We have the words of an ancient historian, a painted miniature world with flowing silver rivers, the whispers of the earth, ground made sterile by a hidden poison, precise measurements of modern science, ghostly outlines of rivers traced in soil samples. The rivers of Mercury are real, a toxic, shimmering map of an empire sealed in the dark. This tomb is more than the resting place of a ruler, a time capsule, a message from a brilliant civilization, a worldview where the physical and the spiritual blur, science and magic working together. Qin Shi Huang did not want just remembrance. He wanted an eternal copy of his world. Mercury rivers, pearl-studded sky, terracotta guards, they are all part of a plan to conquer death. We have unearthed his army. His soul and the universe he built remain out of reach. The unopened tomb challenges discovery. Is knowledge worth the risk of destruction? Do we have the right to disturb his final reality? For now, the answer is no. The sleeping dragon of Xi'an remains in slumber. We watch from a distance using technology, probe the shadows, listen for whispers, dream of the wonders within. The terracotta army is the face of the discovery. The emperor's chamber is the beating question mark beneath the earth. And so we wait. We wait for a future generation, for a new technology, for a time we can safely part the veil. Until that day, the secrets sleep on. They rest in darkness, guarded by silent soldiers, protected by a river of poison. The greatest archaeological treasure lies beneath our feet. What other wonders did the first emperor take with him? What secrets of life? What secrets of death? What secrets of the cosmos sleep under the silent mound of Xi'an?